Hey, how's it going, everyone? Let's get this camera working great. And yeah, you can see my OBS here, my live stream, but we got that open so we can take a look at the werewolf here. Now, what I do want to do is we're gonna stick this over in the corner. Let's pop out this chat real quick, and we'll get chat in the corner here too, so that I can answer any questions we have as they come up. All right. So, I don't know if you could hear that in the background. I was just finishing making my coffee. So much plaid. I know. It's all about the plaid, Tiff. How you liking the hair? How, I feel about 10 years younger. But all right, we got our cup of coffee. You know, number one dad. Mm. And so basically what we're going to be doing today is I have the idea of what the basics of the game is, but I figured since the game is tomorrow, we need to learn a bit about, you know, what's fighting going to be like. You know, what are the technical parts of this game? Um, so I wanted to go in and possibly kind of figure out how we're going to play certain things, like actions. When a player does an action, what do they actually have to do to complete that action? And then when somebody when they fight, um, what is that player doing to fight? So in in the LARP that I used to do, we used to use rock paper scissors. However, we're not going to do that in this one. Werewolf's actually supposed to be played with 10-sided die, which I just so happen to have a whole lot of 10-sided dies. We got a whole bunch of colors. If I bring these out, we're probably in trouble because the system we're using is actually online, so we can roll as many 10-sided dice as we want online. But just in case, maybe, because you need that ominous sound at times. This is what I was explaining to somebody, because when you're a dungeon master or a storyteller, there's just something ominous about the sound of dice dropping. So we may do that just to get into the mood. But here, anyway, let's get into it. We got the werewolves here. Now I think we need to go to page 20 is where our contents are, and I believe it is 169 is the actual rules. Yes. All right. So let's bring this a little bigger. Now, to get over some of the terminology, we'll just take this as we go, and I'll kind of gloss over things I'm already slightly familiar with. Time. The way time works in here is you have a turn. This is very similar to, any turn-based system where one player goes, another player goes, maybe the enemy goes, maybe another player goes. And this is all based on initiative. Initiative is determined before we start going into time. Scene. Yeah, yep, just like it says here, like in most plays and movies, the scene is kind of like what's happening where you are at the current moment, like the story. If you're in a bar, that would be the scene takes place in a bar. So sometimes the scene will have different scenes, and we can go back and forth either between them, or you know, it's just a scene is what's happening at that current time. A chapter a chapter is kind of like the completion of the start of one storyline to the completion of that storyline. Um, it may take a bunch of times to play, but a chapter is usually the end of a bigger storyline. The story, oh, even just many chapters in a story. So basically this might get you to go kill or go find um, an item, and you'll probably have to kill a bad guy. And then when you kill a bad guy, you find out that your princess is in another tower or something. And so you got to go to another tower. You add all those together, you get a story. The Chronicle is your whole series from birth to death of your character. That's a Chronicle. So our series is going to be technically a Chronicle because we're just going to continue on till whenever. Downtime. This is what I really like about Werewolf. Downtime is just whenever you're not playing. So when we're playing, we're going to be doing turns and scenes, and which will be inside of a chapter in a story. But what downtime can be the whole, if I fast forward time a little bit during the story, but most often than not, Kitty, can I live stream? Thank you. Um, Downtime is what happens when you're not playing the game, because unlike a lot of games like Dungeons and Dragons, you can still play Werewolf when you're not playing. And it's a very interesting concept that I like that they added in this. Um, so I mean, if you can't really do anything like fight or stuff like that, or but if you want to talk to another player, or if you want to try to learn something, outside, that can be done during like a downtime fashion from maybe one game to another. So if you wanted to, let's say you guys had a fantastic time, and you wanted to talk about maybe getting together to form a pack. Um, you could do that during game, but you could also discuss it during downtime and just come back to me about what you're doing. So I think that's really cool. Actions. Here's interesting. All right, rolling dice. All right, of course, storytellers. Final judgment, but I don't really. I mean, I like to play. There might be some times where I'll just overrule things, but it's going to be very few and far between. In fact, if someone goes, "This is against the rules, and here's why," I'm going to listen very closely because it's following the rules has always been an important thing for me. All right. Let me see here. Traits. Okay. A trait is described by a rating of 1 to 5. So to do this, we have a character sheet. Let's bring this up. This is the character that I made from the last live stream. So we made this character from the last live stream, and these are his traits right here. So brawny, resilient, tough. Here we go. Boom. No, 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 no. We need you quite bigger. All right. All right. So 1 is vague skills. 5 is a character could do those tasks blindfolded. Fantastic. All right. Let's see. When you roll dice, you roll 1 dice for each dot the character has on the trait. Okay. So for instance, if I was rolling something that required brawny, I would roll 3 dice. Right here. Boom, 3 dice. Um 3 dice of intelligence, you would roll 3 dice. All right, it's very rare to roll an attribute trait all by itself. Raw potential is modified by skill. Skill we have down here in the abilities. Those are our skills. Okay, so let's say I'm fighting, I might roll brawny and melee, maybe. We'll get it. We'll probably have to get into that, but I'm I'm sure we'll probably get into that a little bit. Oh, where's that Okay, situations arise that allow only tribute to be rolled. Okay, you cannot add more than 2 traits together. Add more than 2 traits together into a dice pool. So you can add 2, just no more than 2. Okay. All right. Okay. If your dice pool involves a trait with a maximum rating of 10, such as rage or willpower, rage or willpower is down here, right here. Rage, willpower. Right now, for cubs, they max at 3. You cannot add together. Wait. In addition, if your dice pool involves a trait with a maximum rating of 10, such as rage or willpower, you cannot add other traits to your dice pool. Okay, okay. So you can't have more than 10 dice. Totems and attribute modifications of various forms can sometimes help werewolf overcome limitations of a mere mortal. Instinctual. Spending a point of rage. Okay. You do not need to roll dice for the expenditure, and it leaves you free to do something else. These free actions are called reflexes. All right, right. So what this is referring to is when you're in a fight, you can spend a rage to have another action, to do another action. And that doesn't take any time. It kind of happens instantaneous when you spend the rage. All right. Soaking damage and willpower rose. They aren't considered actions in any real way. You would not have to subtract from your dice pool to soak damage while searching for a password. Kitty. Be conscious to perform it, but they don't get into a character's way during the turn. Okay. Fantastic. Difficulties. All right, I'm familiar with difficulties, right? So the normal difficulty is kind of 6. That's something that's, slightly challenging. Difficulty is 6. Harder, most everything will be a difficulty 6. Harder will go up to 9, I believe. I believe it says max of 9 somewhere. So let's see. Difficulty numbers from 2 to 10. No higher, no lower. All difficulties are 2 to 10, meaning you always have a chance to fail, and you always have a chance to succeed. Failure. So if you get no successes, you fail. Sometimes, depending on what it is, you may try again. Sometimes you won't be able to try again. Depends on the circumstance. Botches. Botches is when you roll a 1. Now, if you roll a 1, but then you also roll, like, let's say the difficulty 6. If you roll a 1, but then you also roll a 6, they'll cancel each other out. However, if you roll no successes and you roll a 1, that's called a botch. Actually, it's called I believe it's called like a super botch or something. What do they call it? I guess they just calling it a botch. A botch, it means not only did you fail, you failed miserably. Yeah, I think you're right, Tiffany. From what I remember, it is up to the storyteller what traits to use. The player can suggest and ask what they want to use, but in the end, it's up to this. Oh my goodness, I cannot do this hair. It's just too hot here in North Carolina. But yes, Tiffany, I think you're right. So a lot of it is going to, it's really going to, the more you learn your character, the better you're actually going to be when it comes to playing. And yes, I'll usually default. You're supposed to be the master of your character. I'm not the master of your character. The player would be the master of the character. And so if the player wants to do something, as long as they don't get too crazy with it, they can do it. No big deal. Um, let's see what else we got. Automatic success. Oh, automatic success is like walking down a street. You don't have to roll to put one foot in front of the other. You know you're going to be able to do it. Maybe jumping 6 inches isn't going to require a roll. Maybe jumping a foot's not going to require a roll because you know how to do it. Anybody can do it. It's very simple. Now if you're if you're walking and chewing gum, you may require a roll. No, I'm joking. But there we go. Try and try again. That's really easy. That's just if if you're doing it again, it makes it more difficult. So a lot of times if you let's say you're picking a lock and you failed picking the lock, I believe the difficulty goes up 1. So if I recall, like sometimes if you're picking a lock, if you need to get like a 6, right? Then the next time you try to pick it, you're going to need like a 7. And that's because it just gets a little harder. You've tried it. You're a little more frustrated, stuff like that. So that's really up to the storyteller. But it's not always. But when it makes sense, it'll happen. When it makes sense, it'll get a little harder. Multiple actions, we know how that works. Let's see. Complications. Extended actions. So extended actions is when you're doing something over time. So let's say you're following a car. You're driving behind a car and you're following a car. So to keep up and to do successfully, I may have you need a certain amount of successes. So this is, instead of just getting one success, you may need to get like 6 successes or 5 successes before you can complete it. Something like that. Um, that's what an extended action is. It's just an action that takes more than one turn. It's more than one roll. Not only that, with extended actions, a lot of times you can have like a partner roll with you to help you out to get more successes, depending on what it is. Again, it's up to the storyteller, and it's really actually I won't say it's necessarily up to the storyteller. I would say, because I really don't rely too much on the storyteller, and that being said, because of me, it's me. But um, it's going to be more common sense, I would say. If your action's going to take some time to do, it's going to be an extended action. If it's something that you can just, it's going to be immediate. Can another player help you out? It's going to depend on what it is. I mean, if you're trying to, disarm a bomb in a 2 foot by 2 foot area, no, you're not going to need. Nobody's going to be able to help you. You're going to have to do it all by yourself. Stuff like that. Teamwork. Yep, that's what we were just talking about. Fantastic. All right. Resisted roll. Okay, I want to see resisted roll. Did I skip that? Let me see that. Here we go. Resisted actions. So this is when you're doing something against somebody. No problem, Sky. How's it going? Resisted action. So we went over just normal actions, something that you're doing maybe to an inanimate object where you're just rolling dice. In this one, this is happening between two characters. Either you're fighting somebody, or you're talking with somebody, or you're trying to intimidate somebody. This is going to have a resisted action to it. Let's see. Here we go. The person who scores the most successes emerges victoriously. However, you score only as many successes as it takes to exceed your opponent's successes. In other words, the other person's successes cancel yours out, just as one's would. Okay, okay. All right. As you can see, it is difficult to get an astounding success on a resisted action. All right. That's because every time they succeed, it takes away one of your successes. So that's interesting. And that, again, what's cool about this is this can be, however they want, is um, like, for instance, if we're talking, a lot of times when you're talking, you're going to use your traits. So you say, all right, I'm gonna be commanding. When I'm talking to them, I want to be kind of intimidating. So I'm gonna be commanding, and I don't think when you're talking, none of these would actually apply. So I would have 2 dice. Well, they can come back and say, well, I'm gonna remain calm and keep my wits about me, and let's say they have like calm 3, they get to roll 3 dice, even though they're using mental traits, you're using social traits. The other being, I mean, you can't really resist with physical traits unless you're trying to punch them in the face. If you're going to combat their social with punching them in the face, I mean, I guess that's a whole nother different story. But um, usually, social traits are blocked with social traits. Mental traits are blocked with mental traits, but it's not always the case. Not always. It's up to you to determine that. Hmm. Let's see. All right, so try it out is what it says. The golden rule. The golden rule is there are no rules. Boom. Fantastic. Hmm. All right, we got some examples of rules. We pretty much went over that. That's cool. What else we got? Hmm. I think we're already in another chapter. Systems and drama. Experience points? No, no, I've gotten that already. I know that one. You guys don't even need to know. I have already figured out that. All right. Let's go back up to 20 and see what we have. I do want to. You know what I do am really really vague on is actually the Umbra. So let's check out the Umbra here. 218. 219. Here we go. A lot of reading this book. A lot of reading. The Umbra. It's the spirit world. Hmm. Hey, I'll be right back. Give me just a minute. Alrighty, so let's see. I don't know the specifics of the Umbra. The Umbra is a spirit world. Now, what's cool about the Umbra is that werewolves can travel into the spirit world. They call it stepping sideways or stepping sideways. Yeah, yeah. And that's basically what you do is you just kind of say I'm stepping sideways, and you know, you step into the Umbra. I also know that you can peek into the Umbra, which is just kind of you can I believe it's spending a gnosis. You spend a gnosis and you can look to see what's happening in the Umbra, or if you've stepped sideways, you can you can spend a gnosis to look into the real world, which I can't begin to explain how useful that's going to be. You know, you don't have to put yourself in danger. You can just go and peek. That people won't even know you're there. You know, let's see. I'm looking for any specific. All right. I mean, a lot of what werewolf is, it's a lot of um, I won't say hippie stuff, but kind of hippie stuff. Where the world is slowly coming to an end, and it's because of bad things happening, like the wolves are dying out, pollution, all that stuff. So I don't want to say hippie stuff, but if when I say hippie stuff, I think you all understand what I mean when people think that, you know, what's so dark about everything. The population, overpopulation, all that stuff werewolves think is kind of bad. Let's see. let's keep this up. Hmm. Well, we'll get into that. Most people aren't going to know history of the world and stuff like that. Hmm. Perspectives on the Umbra. All tribes agree on the basic myths of the spirit world and its nature, but each has its own way of coloring the story. So I mean, if I was describing what the Umbra is, most of you guys watching uh, know what the Nether is, and I've kind of compared it a lot to the Nether, right? But more importantly, it's kind of like a Soul Sand Valley Nether, I would say. It's just they're just spirits everywhere. It's where the spirits live. You can you can traverse it perfectly fine. Um, Another good example would be if you've ever watched Stranger Things. If you ever watched Stranger Things, um, they kind of have an Umbra, the Upside Down. So that's very similar to what I perceive the Umbra to be. Let's see. We know the Earth. Yep. All right. The gauntlet divides the places of matter from the places of spirit. So this is like when you step sideways, you have to step through the gauntlet. And so when you step sideways, these are your difficulties. Is that about right? Let me see. Every place on Earth has a gauntlet rating from 2 to 9. Stepping sideways in areas with a high gauntlet rating is well nigh impossible. So, places where the worm is most important is going to be harder to step sideways. So, if we're at a typical cairn, it only costs 4. If we're in a wilderness, it's 5. Most places, it looks like, is between 6 or 7. Um, yeah, and I'm guessing you're gonna, when you roll, you're gonna roll your, if we looked at a character sheet again, I'm gonna say if you're gonna step sideways, you're gonna roll your oh, where are we? You're gonna roll your gnosis and maybe your occult. I'm sure there's a few here that'll work. Yeah, probably your gnosis and your occult looks like to step sideways. We'll see. I mean, you can get creative. Oh, there was one other thing that I noticed, which is really cool. So let's say somebody is talking and they're like, I'm gonna command you in a commanding voice to obey what I say, right? And someone else is say, you know what, I'm gonna be dignified and like not listen to what you say. But what we haven't discussed so much is negative traits. So what a negative trait is when somebody uses a trait, they can try to guess one of your negative traits in there talking like look, I'm going to try to command you and you're going to be too callous to be able to resist me. Well, you've just named a negative trait, and what if they have that trait, it's going to remove one dice. It's going to remove, or however many they have. Like if someone calls this character predictable, calls out that they're predictable, it's going to remove two of those dice that they're going to be able to. So it using trying to find someone's negative traits is pretty important if you want to, win some certain things. It's pretty cool. So if someone's trying to like, outsmart you, let's say, if they call out that you're predictable, you're gonna lose two dice. And if you only have one dice, not much you can do. I mean, I don't think you still get one dice, but you'll there's not much you can do. It's pretty interesting. All right, a Karn. Karn is interesting. A Karn is kind of like what Guru tend to protect. It's like a spiritual home of sorts. It's a way for them to connect with the spirits. I still feel that wig on me. Oh, yeah, a couple pieces of hair. Fantastic. All right, what else we got? Reaching, stepping sideways. All right, yep, got to push through the gauntlet. Hmm. A gnosis roll. All right, that's what it is. A gnosis roll against the gauntlet rating. Yep. Hmm. All right, well, we figured that out. That was easy. All right. A pack can nominate one person to open the way to lead the entire pack. That's interesting. Rolls for the pack. Her result affects all her pack mates. Only packs may enter the Umbra this way, and non-pack mates accompanying them must step sideways using their own gnosis. Okay, so this is how long it takes. So if you roll it, if you get one success, it's going to take you 5 minutes to get into um, to get into the Umbra. If you roll two successes, it's 30 seconds into the Umbra, and if you roll more than three or more, you can get into the Umbra instantly. Okay, so Guru found a way to make it easier to reach into and out of the Umbra. Reflective surfaces, polished silver, a quiet pool of water, and mirrors make stepping sideways easier. Some say that these aids let a werewolf concentrate on his true self and see his spirit. Others believe that they are holes in the gauntlet reflect images because of. Okay. All right. Regardless, a werewolf who has access to a reflective surface has several advantages when trying to step sideways. First, the difficulty of the rolls drops by 1. Okay. Second, her attempt do not alert weaver spirits. Okay. So if she fails, she may try again in the same place with no penalties. Okay. If the player botches, the reflective surface breaks, tarnishes, or becomes agitated and unstable, rather than leaving the character trapped between worlds. Oh yeah, okay. So, so if you if you botch going sideways without a mirror, you kind of get trapped in between. Um, Fomori are a type of bad guy. They have a habit of breaking mirrors so that their opponents cannot flee. Hmm. All right. Oh, these are just different realms. Okay, these are different realms in the Umbra. We can learn about those a little later. All righty. So the Umbra is as big as the Earth is. One step is one step, unlike the Nether, which is one step is 8 steps. All right, moon paths. Yeah, we got all that. Peaking. So this is peaking. To have a character peek at Earth from the Umbra, the player must roll her Gnosis against the local gauntlet rating. If he succeeds, the character sees a shadowy, monochromatic version of the physical world, including the people and items that leave no spirit shadow in the Umbra. Okay. They cannot discern fine details, such as newsprint, without multiple successes. She can also hear noises from the other side, although they may seem to echo or be distorted slightly. Got it. All right, spirits. Yeah, Gaia, the wild. We'll get into the wild and the Wyrm and the weaver. Incarnate. Now we're starting to talk about the bad guys. Don't worry about that. I like the fact that bad guys are kind of a surprise. All right. Communication. So to talk with a spirit, you need spirit speech. Spirits allied to the guru may speak the tongue of the guru if they choose. Okay. Likewise, many other spirits also know human or guru tongues. Spirits are always difficult to deal with. Otherwise, life would be a whole lot easier. Totems we don't need, and I think that's about it. This seems pretty easy. I don't need to know about storytelling. I'll keep a few secrets to myself. But I think that's all we got. So we'll keep this short and sweet. You can go back and watch this to figure out how we're gonna play. The only other thing that I would recommend is so what we're gonna use is we're gonna use roll 20. So here we go. Let me see. Right, so our next game is going to be tomorrow at 12. It's noontime. It's noontime my time, which is Eastern. So this is what we're going to use to play. We, again, may have a few hiccups learning how to play this, but this is basically how we're going to play. You'll be able to do your rolling here. I believe it's just like roll 2d20 or 2d10, something like that. Yep. Here you go. And now you can see. Oh, dang. Man. We got 2 successes, I'm assuming, for the most part. So here's where our maps are, and most players will actually be able to control themselves. They'll be able to control their players. When you log in, you're not going to be, stuck with my own me moving your characters around when you get onto roll 20. And if you don't have an invite, I can send you an invite, and you'll be able to move your own character around wherever you want. You can see that I've made a few different scenes, so we're pretty good to go when it comes to our first story. I've been working pretty hard on this, so I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, logging in and playing, and yeah, I can come here and we'll be able to move objects, tokens when you go to fight. I think, like, for instance, I have the Karn here, so sometimes if we're fighting, we can use this one. So you can, place a character down. As far as determining your tokens, when we first start to play, you'll be able to pick your token out, and we can keep your token on file, and you can always use that same token. For me, I can just come up here and let's say we put in warrior. I can put in warrior, and we can grab like this guy right here, and bam, there you are. I can come and put your name in, say who's going to control it, and yeah, it's pretty easy and fun. And so that's what we're going to use for tabletop. I think it's going to be really exciting. And like I said, we're not stuck in one little area. I've made a whole bunch of them. We should be good to go. So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys all for watching. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow when we play this for the first time. Tomorrow we're going to be doing some rite of passages. Or is it rites of passage? Rites of passage. With a bunch of the players for the first time, and I'm looking forward to it. It's looking to be a lot of fun. All right, you guys have a fantastic day. Bye.